यहाँ पे तो है just for a while only. You see so many faces and come across people.
Exactly, Lordship.
चल
सर हम लोगों को बड़ा अच्छा लगता है याद करके कि whatever you expected from us, we are moving slowly and slowly.
Only thing is, I would still love at the earliest आप ना जो नया location है ना वहाँ पे shift कर रहे हैं आप.
Sir.
It has to be like level of National Law University only.
Exactly.
प्रेजेंट चीफ जस्टिस के पीछे पड़ के और चीफ सेक्रेटरीज वगैरह के वो फंड्स रिलीज करवा के यू स्टार्ट विद दैट प्रोजेक्ट जो हमने उस दिन भूमि पूजन किया था ऑन 26th of September. It should be converted into reality actually.
Exactly, sir. और हमारे फैकल्टी मेंबर्स बहुत रेस्पेक्टफुली याद करते हैं आपको सर.
नहीं, it was very nice when we visited your, not your only, it was our, when we visited the National Law University. It was really beautiful to see in whatever limited resources you did so well there.
Thank you, Lordship.
And as leader there, as Vice Chancellor, you had taken so many initiatives now. Let us see.
Lordship.
It will start at 11 o'clock. It should be exact time actually.
Yes, sir, we will start. Lordship will join.
His Lordship is also joined now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Justice Goel, sir.
Good morning, ji.
Sir, I welcome you on behalf of our university. I am. So. The only thing which is there's technical connecting each other.
Yes.
Sometimes they.
No, but the details which are giving is we are about already 80 plus.
Sir.
That's a good number.
No, sir. People will join, sir. It's a well circulated and. Foreign delegates.
Of course, those number must not be given here.
They
also would be joining this.
Yes,
and so many from the High Court also.
YouTube, yeah.
Yes.
So.
Yes, and so many from the High Court also.
YouTube, yeah.
Yes.
So. Lordship, we will wait for it 2 minutes, I think.
No problem.
All are in the process.
Actually, as a precautionary also, so that last moment there's no glitch or something in joining.
Lordship, I appreciate.
One should always be punctual also.
Sir.
That's why Justice Goel was also, he is very punctual. His Lordship is very punctual.
In fact, sir, it was your suggestion. And you see, we are now lucky enough to have him with us today.
The university is lucky to have his Lordship.
Yes, Lordship. Yes, sir.
Sir, good morning.
Good. नमस्कार चीफ जस्टिस साहब, क्या हाल है जी?
नमस्कार सर, ठीक है भाई साहब, नमस्कार.
Nice to see you, though through video conferencing, but it's nice to see you.
बिल्कुल.
Lordship, with your permission, maybe start, sir?
Yes.
Swati, please.
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. Honorable Shri Justice Mohammad Rafiq, Chief Justice, High Court of Madhya Pradesh and Chancellor of Dharmashastra National Law University. Honorable Shri Justice A.K. Goel, Chairperson, National Green Tribunal and the Chief Guest for today's inaugural session. Honorable Shri Justice A.K. Mittal, former Chief Justice of High Court of Madhya Pradesh and the guest of honor today. Honorable Professor Balraj Chauhan, Vice Chancellor of Dharmashastra National Law University, Jabalpur. Respected Shri Anand Kumar Tiwari, Registrar, Dharmashastra National Law University. Respected Shri Dinesh Prasad Mishra, Controller of Examinations of our university, our participants, my fellow colleagues, and our valued viewers. I, Swati Singh Parmar, Assistant Professor in Law at Dharmashastra National Law University, welcome all of you to the inaugural ceremony of International Conference on Changing Dimensions of Human Rights in the globalized world. I feel honored to extend to you all a heartfelt welcome on behalf of the university. It is spectacular that defying all the odds of the pandemic, overcoming the mental and emotional wear and tear of these trying times, so many of you have joined us today on this online platform for this conference. The history of human rights has been so fascinating, from the theoretical schema in the Greco-Roman philosophy to various events of conquests, wars, revolts, and revolutions. It is a history of histories. And to say it in the words of Professor Upendra Bakshi, no contemplation of open and diverse human rights futures may remain innocent of their many histories. Preeminent among these remain the myths of origin that suggest that human rights traditions are gifts of the West to the rest. When we talk about rights, we, the students of law, tend to think like lawyers and commit the same mistake. The mistake of looking at rights through the prism of provisions which provide for remedial rights in case of violation of substantive rights. If human rights are human rights in the true sense of the term, then the remedial rights should become functionally otiose. Even Dr. B.R. Ambedkar referred to Article 32 of the Constitution of India as heart and soul of the Constitution, a provision which presupposes a breach of fundamental rights. Non-realization, however, as Professor Amartya Sen writes, does not in itself make a claimed right a non-right. Rather, it motivates further social action. Globalization tends to further take our attention from the right holder, as the objective of globalization has certainly not been the protection of human rights. And very often, there is a need to balance the extent of globalization with the imperatives of human rights. The international conference today has been organized to dwell further into such and many such other issues pertaining to human rights and its interface with globalization. The international conference is being inaugurated because of the immense support, motivation, and guidance that we all draw from our Vice Chancellor. Our Chancellor is a very experienced one, Honorable Professor Balraj Chauhan, who has previously been the Vice Chancellor of the National Law Institute, University Bhopal, and Dr. Ramar Lohia National Law University, Lucknow. With this, let me have the honor of welcoming our pillar of strength and our source of inspiration, Honorable Professor Balraj Chauhan, Vice Chancellor of Dharmashastra National Law University, Jabalpur, to welcome the august gathering.
Thank you, Swati. Good morning to all of you. On behalf of Dharmashastra National Law University and on my own behalf, I extend you all a very warm and hearty welcome. Today, I feel greatly honored and privileged to welcome our esteemed guests, Honorable Shri Mohammad Rafiq, Chief Justice of Madhya Pradesh High Court and Chancellor of Dharmashastra National Law University, Jabalpur, Honorable Shri Justice Adarsh Kumar Goyal, Chairperson of the National Green Tribunal, Honorable Shri Justice Ajay Kumar Mittal, former Chief Justice and former Chancellor of Dharmashastra National Law University. I place on record my deep sense of gratitude to all revered dignitaries and guests, which includes jurists, academicians, resource persons, participants, media persons, and students for joining the inaugural session of the International Conference. I take privilege to welcome our own Chancellor, Honorable Shri Justice Mohammad Rafiq, Chief Justice of Madhya Pradesh High Court. Lordship has joined recently, and within a short span, I found these are the two words which I am telling you, I am sharing with you, that Lordship wants that this university should rise, and he is taking keen interest in the academic and the research activities from the day one he joined here in Madhya Pradesh. When I told him, sir, when this university was inaugurated in 2018, it initiated a new experiment in the field of the legal education. And Honorable Chancellor is extending all his support to us. And really, we are fortunate to have him today in the inaugural session of this particular conference. On behalf of the legal fraternity of the Dharmashastra National Law University and on my own behalf, I extend a very respectful and warm welcome of our Chancellor. And Lordship, we request you that keep blessing us always. Friends, it is indeed an unforgettable and notable movement and a milestone for all of us to have esteemed chairperson of National Green Tribunal, Honorable Shri Adarsh Kumar Goel, former judge of Supreme Court of India, and presently the chairperson of National Green Tribunal. Lordship is the internationally acclaimed jurist known for his significant and remarkable contributions in the field of law. He has been providing guidance and motivation in protecting the environment through his pronouncements as the chairperson of the National Green Tribunal. We all welcome you, Lordship, with greatest reverence and veneration from the core of our heart. And I am confident that your words of wisdom will shape and give directions to the structure of this conference to a great extent, which will help our faculty members and students tremendously. Lordship, I will take the opportunity to request you that keep interacting with us, because you always help students, faculty members, just to ignite them, just to increase the intellectual appetite. And from the core of my heart, I welcome you on this occasion. Now, I don't know how should I express my words, because it's a matter of joy. And all of us are very excited to welcome our former Chancellor and former Chief Justice of Madhya Pradesh High Court, Honorable Shri Justice Ajay Kumar Mittal, who has been a constant source of inspiration for shaping the destiny of this academic institution, who was always telling us, do this, do that. And even today in the morning, he was guiding me, advising me, Balraj, I want to see building of the university, request your present Chancellor and take all measures so that this university is having its own building. Lordship, we assure you that the expectations which you have from us will surely be fulfilled. We will try our level best to meet your expectations, and we are genuinely fortunate to have you amongst us as mentor and guide. On behalf of the whole DNLU fraternity, I extend you a very cordial, respectful, and warm welcome. And I am sure that your dream will come true, because our present Chancellor and our Honorable Chief Justice of the Madhya Pradesh High Court is also very keen to see the construction to be started. We welcome you, sir. Today's conference theme is Changing Dimensions of Human Rights in the Globalized World. Human rights are those minimal rights which every individual must have against the state or other public authority by virtue of being a member of the human family, irrespective of any other consideration. Jose W. Diacono has rightly observed that human rights are more than legal concepts. They are the essence of man. They are what makes man human. Deny them and you deny man's humanity. On the other hand, word globalization is used widely to sum up of today's world order. The trend at present is a shift from a world economy based on national market economics to a borderless global market economy increasingly governed by one set of rules. In this context, globalization means global economic liberalization, developing a global financial system, and a transnational production system which is based on homogenized worldwide law of value, global cultural bazaar, the globing shopping mall, global financial worker, and global workplace are new dimensions where the issues and implications of human rights are emerging and creating consciousness among the academicians and the research scholars, and even in the minds of the jurists and judges for the protection of the human rights. I can recall the words of Amrit Sen, who very aptly remarked, I quote, "There is something deeply attracted in the idea that every person anywhere in the world, irrespective of citizenship or territorial legislation, has some basic rights which others should respect," unquote. I think these rights seems to state the moral case for creating and maintaining legal institutions and social practice. I put emphasis here because these are the things, because vibrant legal culture is a sine qua non for the protection of the human rights and promote a crucial aspects of the human well-being. In the conference, sir, we will try to answer some germane questions which are frequently asked, as number one, what kind of statements does a declaration of human rights make? 2, what makes a human rights important? 3, what duties and obligations do human rights generate? 4, through what forms of actions can human rights be promoted, and in particular, must legislation be the principal, even necessary means of implementation of human rights? 5th, can economic and social rights today, so-called second generation rights, be reasonably included or have reasonably been included in the human right list? And last but not the least, how can proposal of human rights be defended or challenged, and how should their claim to a universal status be assessed? I am happy to inform the august gathering for the purposeful contribution what the participants have made. As you know that this conference was conceived last year in the month of March when Justice Mittal Saab was here. But we received the papers, we worked on them, and I found that some substantive material has been developed by us. But I truly believe that as a university, every university is a great storehouse of learning, a great laboratory for training, as well as a man of thought of action. The university is thus an instrument of state for the discovery of knowledge, for the conservation of knowledge, for the dissemination of knowledge, and above all, for the creation of knowledge makers. This conference is in that direction. We want to create knowledge, we want to disseminate that knowledge, and today is the day when I can say that we are marching in that direction. And I can only say that by your esteemed presence, our efforts will be successful. And as a Vice Chancellor, once again, I welcome you all on the historic occasion of the first international conference, Changing Dimensions of Human Rights in the Globalized World, at this university. And I am looking forward for your blessings in future also. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for the welcome address and such an insightful introduction to the theme of this conference. Let me now request Dr. Veena Roshan Jose, Assistant Professor in Law and the coordinator of this international conference, to share with us all the details about this conference.
Thank you, Ms. Swati. A very good morning to one and all. Respected dignitaries who are present for this inaugural ceremony, Honorable Sri Justice Mohammad Rafiq, Chief Justice, High Court of Madhya Pradesh, and Chancellor DNLU, Honorable Shri Justice A.K. Goyal, Chairperson, National Green Tribunal, Honorable Shri Justice A.K. Mittal, former Chief Justice, High Court of Madhya Pradesh and former Chancellor of DNLU, Honorable Vice Chancellor of DNLU, Professor Balraj Chauhan, respected Shri Anand Tiwari, Registrar, respected Shri Dinesh Mishra, Controller of Examinations and other officers of the University, dignified delegates, national and international resource persons and participants, members of the faculty, administrative and support staff, students of DNLU, ladies and gentlemen. Today, on the occasion of the inaugural ceremony of this two-day international conference, I, Dr. Veena Roshan Jose, speaking in the capacity of the coordinator of this international conference, will brief the august gathering about how a thought on human rights and globalization given to us by our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Balraj Chauhan, was visualized and developed into themes of contemporary importance, which needed discussion and academic discourse by the team consisting of Dr. Shilpa Jain, Associate Professor and Convener of this international conference, Mr. Gautam Gupta, and myself, coordinators of this conference on changing dimensions of human rights in the globalized world. The proposal for the conference was submitted by the team to the authorities, and we were immediately granted permission to organize the international conference, as our Vice Chancellor, sir, firmly believed that there is an urgent need to understand, deliberate and ponder upon the changing dimensions of human rights in the globalized world, thus paving way for this event. There is no denial of the fact that human rights is a theme on which much has been written and ventilated, but it continues to remain one of the burning topics of the contemporary era. When we look at the development of concept of human rights in the modern period, we can see that initially the focus was to enumerate the civil and political rights, and we called such rights as the first generation human rights. The social, economic, and cultural rights were in focus in the next stage, and we refer the same as the second generation human rights. The next stage of development of human rights looked into the problems of vulnerable sections, including women, children, indigenous peoples, minorities, including sexual minorities, and so on, and identified measures to be adopted for the realization of human rights of these sections. This third stage witnessed the emergence of the right-based approach to development and initiatives of massive human rights education programs. People became more conscious about their collective rights, such as a right to self-determination, right to clean and healthy environment, and so on. Such rights are termed as third-generation human rights. However, 21st century is witnessing the emergence of various human rights issues as a result of the advancement in science and technology. In this era of globalization, when science and technology is racing out of legal control, human rights concerns are to be taken care seriously, as there are multiple actors other than government or public authorities which are violators of human rights. The fourth generation human rights are those rights of the future generations, and such rights belong to the humanity as a whole. Today's international conference is a forum to discuss, deliberate, and exchange ideas on a concept that has inspired and transformed the lives of millions of people. Human rights discourse has shaped the way democracies function. The conference aims at discussing the intrinsic relationship between human rights and globalization at various levels. We have divided the themes of the conference, keeping in mind this intricate relationship between the generations of human rights and globalization. The first theme identified for the conference is new dimensions of human rights from national and international perspectives. The second theme is human rights and environment. Concerns relating to human rights and protection of environment have stretched out considerably in the past several decades, both at national and international levels. The papers we received covers various aspects of convergence of human rights and environment. The third theme discusses the human rights issues of vulnerable and marginalized populations. Human rights concerns of women, children, disabled, aged, minorities, etc. are the main focus areas of the research papers under this theme. Part 4 is dedicated to the contemporary theme of science, technology, and human rights. These four fundamental themes are witnessing a significant shift in the era of globalization. The emergence of globalization makes it imperative for revitalizing the strategies and plan of actions for the protection and promotion of human rights. The conference in the first instance was announced to be organized from 28th February to 1st March 2020 under the able guidance of the then Chief Justice of High Court of Madhya Pradesh and Chancellor of DNLU, Honorable Shri Justice A.K. Mittal. Sir has been kind enough even today that he has agreed to grace the occasion by his presence. From the very beginning, His Lordship was very enthusiastic about the international conference planned by DNLU and was constantly inquiring with our Vice Chancellor on the progress of the preparations. With utmost happiness, I would like to place on record that we received an overwhelming response from national and international participants and our own students of DNLU. We received more than 120 registrations and about 100 abstracts, from which over 60 abstracts were selected for submission of full papers. However, due to the outbreak of pandemic across the globe and the unprecedented situation, we had to postpone the event twice, and after almost a wait of 1 year, we are organizing this conference. We are extremely thankful for our delegates and participants for their patience and cooperation. It is traditional for a conference attendees to be given a token of souvenir to take home with them. Continuing with this tradition, the organizing committee prepared a souvenir. Since the mode of conference has changed in these difficult times from physical to virtual, we were also compelled to change the form of the souvenir from hard copy to e-copy. The e-copy of the souvenir is being shared with you on your screens and will be emailed to all one who are present here. We have included all the abstracts received for the conference, along with every detail related to the conference in the e-souvenir. Moving ahead, I am elated to inform the August gathering that from the 58 full papers we have received to be presented and discussed in the 2 days conference, 10 papers were selected after double-blind peer review process by internal and external reviewers to be published in the form of an edited book with the title Changing Dimensions of Human Rights in the Globalized World. Since the book has been published during the pandemic times, we could not send the physical hard copies of the book to all our dignitaries of the inaugural ceremony for the release of the book. Therefore, I request Honorable Shri Justice A.K. Goyal and Honorable Shri Justice A.K. Mittal sir to kindly shower their blessings, and I request Honorable Shri Justice Mohammad Rafiq, Chief Justice of High Court of Madhya Pradesh and the Chancellor of DNLU to release the hard copy of the book. I also request Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir and Registrar Sir to join Honorable Chancellor Sir in the release of this edited book. Sir, I'll be failing in my duty to brief about the conference if I do not mention about the support rendered by the Punjab National Bank, which has helped us in meeting some of our expenses related to the organizing this conference. My thanks are due to Mr. Sanjay Verma, Circle Head, PNB, and Mr. Dhirendra Verma, Manager, PNB, for supporting this event. To conclude, I would like to state that defending and promoting human rights is about the big and the small actions we take all day. If we want the society to function more in line with the human rights standards and principles, it is our responsibility to come up with innovative solutions. The legal community has a huge responsibility to solve existing problems. It is for this larger goal we decided to organize a thematic conference on human rights at DNLU. I hope that this conference will be a starting point towards building a network of human rights scholars and practitioners interested in rethinking the emancipatory human rights discourse during these challenging times. Thank you all once again.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for introducing various sub-themes and sessions of this conference, and also for the release of e-souvenir and the book of the conference. Our guest of honor, Honorable Shri Justice A.K. Mittal, graduated from Sri Ram College of Commerce, University of Delhi, and completed his LLB from Faculty of Law, University of Delhi. In the same year, he started practice in the Punjab and Haryana High Court. Your Lordship was elevated as Judge of Punjab and Haryana High Court in 2004. He also served as Acting Chief Justice of Punjab and Haryana High Court. Your Lordship was appointed as Chief Justice of Meghalaya High Court in May 2019. Your Lordship was transferred to Madhya Pradesh High Court as Chief Justice of Madhya Pradesh High Court in November 2019. Justice Aaron Barak, former judge of Supreme Court of Israel, wrote in one of his judgments that democracy is a delicate balance between majority rule and the fundamental values of society that rule the majority. Take majority rule out of constitutional democracy and you have harmed its essence. Take the rule of fundamental values out of the constitutional democracy and you've harmed its very existence. The task of judicial review, therefore, is an act of deft balancing between these two desirable but competing objectives. Honorable Shri Justice A.K. Mittal, in his judicial career, has exhibited this task of balancing with aplomb. I take the privilege to request Honorable Shri Justice A.K. Mittal, former Chief Justice of High Court of Madhya Pradesh, to address us all.
Honorable Shri Justice A.K. Goel, Chairperson, National Green Tribunal, and Chief Guest for the inaugural ceremony, Honorable Shri Justice Mohammad Rafiq, Chief Justice of High Court of Madhya Pradesh, and Chancellor Dharam Shastra National Law University, Jabalpur, Professor Balraj Chauhan, Vice Chancellor, Dharam Shastra National Law University, Dr. Veena Roshan Jose, Coordinator International Conference, Shri Anand Kumar Tiwari, Registrar Dharam Shastra National Law University, and all other dignitaries connected through virtual mode in this international conference today. A very good morning to everybody present through virtual mode. It is a matter of immense pleasure that the Dharam Shastra National Law University is organizing the International Conference on Changing Dimensions of Human Rights in the Globalizing World. The concept of human rights is fundamentally same in all parts of the world. In order to maintain the dignity and worth of human beings, it is necessary to provide and promote equal rights to men and women, not only as a part of the social progress, but also the representations of the development of the human beings. Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948, states that, within quotes, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood, unquote. This clearly indicates that the universal, fundamental, and critical notion is that just like we are all one, our rights, dignity represents oneness too. In the same way, the meaning of the what has been stated in Rig Veda, Mandala 10, Sukta 191, Mantra 4 is, let there be oneness in your resolutions, hearts and minds. Let the determination to live with mutual cooperation be firm in you all. The concept of equality and liberty against any kind of discrimination is what has been provided in various literature. Subsequently, the same term has been enshrined in nearly all the democratic constitutions of the world. However, conserving the same is not merely a constitutional mandate. It is the duty of the entire fraternity to work for the same. Needless to say that as per the present scenario, it is equally important to gain acquaintance of human rights laws. The notion behind This theme is certainly a much pertinent issue in the present context. Due to the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, we have witnessed numerous dimensions of human rights ascended during the time of pandemic that levied restrictions on certain rights, such as imposition of quarantine or isolation, limiting freedom of movement, etc. Respect of human rights and human dignity are virtual constituents in protecting the rights. Cautious consideration, resilience are imperative in governing the human rights. The application of existing laws governing the human rights requires to be flexible so that different claims and entitlements of human beings can be entertained whenever there is any violation of their rights. The sphere of the protection needs to be lit enough so that broader interpretations in serving the rights can be provided. The application of human rights laws should not be held as per the accessibility. Neither it should be arbitrary nor discriminatory. In addition, some essential restrictions can be imposed on the human beings, but those are subject to justification when there is a legal base or there is any scientific evidence of commanding such restrictions. For example, the scale and severity of the pandemic turned out as a threat to public health. Moreover, the restrictions on certain rights granted during such time is justifiable, but again, the restrictions on certain rights are subject to review. The extent of the word human rights has been widened now as per the need and development of the society. The inhuman condition has led the progress in various rights, such as women empowerment, education, rights against racial discrimination, rights of indigenous community, etc. And likewise, different protection provided under the human rights laws on national and international level have also played a vital role in this present scenario. With the mention of these rights, the emphasis is shifted from laws to policymakers. The primary function of the policymakers to protect the rights. It is the duty of the state to look after the welfare of the people. More significantly, if the nation itself treats its citizens appropriately, it will provide a security and recognition to them, and the chances of violation will be automatically minimized. Eleanor Roosevelt correctly put forward in her words as, within quotes, where after all do universal human rights begin? In small places close to home, so close and so small that they cannot be seen on any maps of the world. Unless these rights have meaning there, they have little meaning anywhere. Without concerted citizen action to uphold them close to home, we shall look in vain for progress in the larger world. Unquote. So on one hand, the development of the society brought an affluence on many levels. On the other hand, it has brought numerous hindrances as well. Many people are not cognizant about their obligations, the sense of duty towards one another at time absent. The fundamental element of the human right is equality and dignity that various times get compromised and suffers from various types of abuses. This occurs around the world and revolves around the two terms, that is deprivation and discrimination. These are either based on the race or ethnicity, religion, gender, sexual orientation, caste or class, or it is about the hunger, violence of all types, slavery, etc. The human rights violations at times are rooted in the every norm of the society, among which some are evident, some are not. As the Article 2 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights states that, within quotes, everyone is entitled to all the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth or other status. Furthermore, no distinction shall be made on the basis of the political, jurisdictional, or international status of the country or territory to which a person belongs, whether it be independent, trust, non-self-governing, or under any other limitation of sovereignty, unquote. Therefore, the acceptance and promotion of the human interest and respecting their dignity in any changing scenario requires a cooperation. Laws merely are insufficient to do the same. The collaboration between the laws, policies, and rules in serving and protecting the rights of the individuals are crucial. The same are the contemporary concerns that we all are witnessing. Various instances we have seen nationally and internationally, whether related to the racial apartheid, equal right for women, sexual orientation, labor's poor condition, obstacles with regard to sharing of resources, especially during the time of COVID-19. All these indicate that these violations require serving of their rights with the help of appropriate policies, rules, and laws. This is the obligation of the international and national institutions to interpret treaties, existing laws, policies, and regulations so that compliance of the established norms can be made effectively. It is the first and foremost duty of the government to introduce and implement the suitable mechanism in consonance with international laws to protect and promote the human rights. To ensure the same, the citizen needs to be made and realize their duties towards one another so that they can seek help in case of any kind of breach of their rights. The NGOs can also be entrusted in creating ways to organize or bring litigations in the interest of serving the society and providing service for the same. Other than this, legal institutions, through their research works, spread the awareness amongst the citizens to make them aware of their rights. Without a doubt, it is a virtuous initiative taken by the university to arrange such a conference at this juncture, where we have seen different aspects of human endurance and inclusion in their rights to live with dignity. With this view, I would like to extend heartfelt gratitude to the Dharam Shastra National Law University. I hope and wish that this surely will make an impact on all of us to be aware and be assured that the information would be circulated far-flung. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Your Lordship, for sharing reflections on of human rights in ancient Indian philosophy, as well as the contemporary desirability of strengthened human rights standards. The rhetoric of a decision is important. Strong rhetoric echoes loudly for issues for which, in order to realize judicial role, it is necessary to increase public awareness. Strong rhetoric is sometimes very important. Honorable Shri Justice A.K. Goel, while allowing the waiver of the cooling off period of 6 months in cases of divorce by mutual consent under the Hindu Marriage Act, wrote, along with other reasons, that if the waiting period will only prolong their agony, it is better to dissolve the marital tie instantly. Our chief guest for the inaugural ceremony of the conference, Honorable Shri Justice A.K. Goel, Chairperson, National Green Tribunal, after distinguished years of practice at High Court of Punjab and Haryana, at Supreme Court of India, and then at Delhi High Court, was elevated as Judge of Punjab and Haryana High Court in July 2001. He was the acting Chief Justice of Punjab and Haryana High Court since May 2011, till he joined as the senior-most judge of the Guwahati High Court in September 2011. And then he was sworn in as the Chief Justice of the Guwahati High Court in December 2011. Your Lordship was appointed as the Chief Justice of Orissa High Court in 2013. Your Lordship was elevated as Judge of Supreme Court, where he assumed the charge in July 2014. Your Lordship was also appointed as the Chairperson of National Green Tribunal on July 6, 2018. Honorable Shri Justice A.K. Goel, in his judicial career, has succinctly identified the occasions wherein the strong articulation of public reasoning has been reflected in his judgments. Among his notable judgments are Pradyuman Bisht versus Union of India, Krishnaveni Nigam versus Harish Nigam, Subhash Kashinath Mahajan versus State of Maharashtra, B. Sunitha versus State of Telangana, and Amardeep Singh versus Harveen Kaur. Your Lordship, please allow me to request you for your kind address.
Unmute. No, his lordship has to unmute that.
Please unmute yourself.
His lordship has to unmute that.
He has to unmute. Yes, now it is.
Sorry. I didn't realize that I had muted myself. Thank you so much. Good morning, all present. Honorable Chief Justice, Justice Rafiq, Honorable Justice Mittal, Dr. Balraj Chauhan, Vice Chancellor, all the dignitaries, faculty members, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Let me thank you all for giving me this opportunity of participating in this very important conference on the subject of changing dimensions of human rights in globalized world. That shows the concern which you have for the human rights. Certainly, we are all humans, and concern for human rights is very much necessary, particularly in the globalized world. Means we are all dependent. And I may, with your permission, disagree with one statement recently made by Dr. Swati Parmar, assistant professor. Sorry for having a little slight difference of opinion with you when you said the human rights are the gift of the West to the rest. I very, very humbly disagree with you. It's not a gift of the West to the rest. Human rights are there in everybody's heart by birth. We are human beings and we respect human beings. And we want to work for the welfare of human beings. Unfortunately, the talk of human rights started because of cruelty of the West, because of mass violation of human rights by the West in throwing a bomb in the Second World War on Japan, killing lakhs and lakhs of people, innocent people. So if the West is the author of human rights, they could not do such massive destruction of human beings. The thinking started in the world, what is to be done with such brutal force. If human beings can be dealt in inhuman way, what is to be done? How to check it? Justice Mittal has referred to Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was signed by the world countries on 10th of December 1948. That all human beings are equal. And all human beings are entitled to protection and dignity. That is the concept of human rights. We in India, Justice Mittal quoted from the Rig Veda, let us think alike. We are all alike. And we all know the saying, Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukh bhag bhavet. That is the essence of human rights, which is known to us much before, thousands of years before. And we say, Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. The whole world is one. It's one family. That's how we treat it. That is the essence of human rights, which is inherent in us. Much before Magna Carta started in 12th century, which was again a result of a struggle against cruelty by the kings. Massive abuse of power by the kings. And there was a huge agitation where King John was forced. In fact, physically forced by the gathering to sign the Magna Carta that yes, you will have some minimum rights. So there have been rulers, there have been forces, there have been brutal forces to misuse their power, which they assumed, which is necessary to be checked and controlled if human beings are equal and born equal and born with dignity, and if their dignity is the object of world coming together. So I must compliment you all for this massive effort which you are undertaking. The e-paper, e-sovereign which you are sending to everyone, the e-book you have prepared, the research papers you have compiled and reviewed and shortlisted, I'm sure will go a long way in propagating and educating the masses, educating the scholars on this subject. Let me refer to what Bhagat Singh said in our struggle against serious violation of human rights. When Bhagat Singh threw a bomb in the town hall, which did not injure anyone, but created a noise, he surrendered and was arrested and tried for 307 IPC, attempt to murder, and was asked to make a statement at the end of the trial under section 342 of the Criminal Procedure Code of that time, which is now 313 of the Criminal Procedure Code. So he says, I am willing to accept any punishment. I am not even going to file appeal if whatever punishment you may give. But let me make it clear, I had no intention, there is no attempt to kill anyone. The charge is absolutely false because I have studied I have made the bomb myself. I know the chemical composition of the bomb, he explained. And he said the bomb could not even cause a simple hurt to anyone. It could only create a noise. And why I have done it is for protection of human rights. And what are the human rights which he defined in his statement in 6th of June 1929, in his statement before the trial court in Delhi? He said, those who are working day and night, putting their toil for producing the corn, food for others, are kept hungry. Those who are producing cloth for others are not able to cover their body. Those who are constructing massive mansions are not able to make a hut for themselves. This is the violation of human rights. This unjust social order must change. And this is because of globalization or imperialization without safeguards. This is the subject which you are discussing in the changing dimensions of human rights, where some powers assume huge, some states or some governments assume huge power, which has the capacity to destroy the rights of others. In America, up to 1854, slavery was legal. There could be trade of human beings. It's 1854 judgment in Brown. The scenario was changed. Abraham Lincoln legally abolished it. In 1854, American Supreme Court abolished it. But then, world over, there is a threat. Can there be equality of human beings if people are hungry? If people are deprived of their minimum needs, it is a call for the world. Wherever there is a hunger, wherever there is a disease, if the human beings are there, they are all our brothers and sisters in the world. In the global world, the human rights can be protected if there is an attitudinal change to really treat everyone in the world as your brothers and sisters. Not with an attitude to have more power or exploit their labor or exploit their resources, which world powers are trying to do. So, how to protect the dignity of human beings who are vulnerable? That's the subject we are going to discuss. We have entered into Marpol Conference, there is an attempt to migrate or send pollution to other countries. The hazardous waste is being dumped by the rich countries to the poor countries. Is that protection of human rights or a threat to human rights? So climate change is a result of activities of the advanced world in experimenting with the massive weapons of mass destruction. There is a grouping of the international forces for their benefit, but not for the benefit of the whole mankind. So these are the issues. I'm glad you are going to discuss how to protect our children, how to protect our women, how to protect our marginal sections. What is the relationship of science and technology with the human rights? The science and technology can destroy human rights in a big way. But how it is to be used for protection? What can be the safeguards? Ultimately, the safeguards would be in the human mind. Safeguards can't be made by any law alone. Unless the human thought is designed in such a way that my existence is for others' welfare. My life is for serving the humanity. My life, I can make sacrifice of my happiness for the happiness of others, because it's my object of my life is to make others happy. That is the thought which has been propagated in this country since centuries. That thought needs to be carried forward. How to make everyone happy. So it is also the duty, it is the thought, it is the thinking, what your duty is. And in the words of Abdul Kalam, it is what I can do for others, not what I can get. This paradigm shift in the approach will result in protection of the human rights. So I will not take more time because you are all learned people. You have worked so hard. I must compliment the university, Professor Chauhan and all members of the faculty and all those who have organized and put in labor, all the participants who are going to make this event a great success. I compliment them. This is going to be certainly, it will carry this subject of human rights much far off. Your efforts will certainly succeed. And I'm grateful. I thank you all. And particularly respectfully, I thank Chief Justice Rafiq for his participation and for my opportunity to see him at least on the screen today, and Justice Mittal. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Your Lordship, for this address. And if I may be allowed to submit that I was trying to make the same point that Your Lordship made when I quoted Professor Upendra Bakshi, who criticized the European jurist and told how they have told us a myth that it is the gift from the West to the West, while it is there in the hearts of everyone, each of us. Professor Edwin Patterson wrote, "My eclecticism in legal philosophy is based partly on my belief in tolerance, partly on my belief in pluralism, and partly on the inertia of habit. Honorable Shri Chief Justice Mohammad Rafiq is a living example of a person having these qualities. Honorable Shri Justice Mohammad Rafiq, Chief Justice High Court of Madhya Pradesh and Chancellor of our university, in early days of his career practiced law in Rajasthan, after which in the year 2006, he was appointed as a judge in High Court of Rajasthan. Your Lordship also served as an acting Chief Justice of High Court of Rajasthan. Your Lordship was appointed as Chief Justice of Meghalaya High Court in November 2019. He was transferred to Orissa High Court as the Chief Justice of Orissa High Court in April 2020. Your Lordship was transferred to Madhya Pradesh as the Chief Justice of Madhya Pradesh High Court on 31st December 2021 and took oath on 3rd January 2021. Brevity is a virtue, more so when it comes to the judgment of the court. Honorable Shri Justice Mohammad Rafiq's judgments epitomize the virtue of brevity along with clarity. May I now have the privilege of requesting Your Lordship for his presidential address.
Honorable C. Justice Adarsh Kumar Goyal, Chairperson, National Green Tribunal. Honorable Sri Justice Ajay Kumar Mittal, former Chief Justice of the High Court of Madhya Pradesh. Professor Balraj Chauhan, Chancellor, Dharma Shastra National Institute, Jabalpur. Dr. Veena Roshan Jose, Coordinator of the conference. Sri Anand Tiwari, Registrar of the Dharma Shastra NLU. Sri Dinesh Mishra, Controller of the Examinations. Other faculty members of DNLU, all the participants, dear students, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a matter of great pleasure that the Dharma Shastra National Institute is organizing a 2-day international conference on the subject Changing Dimensions of Human Rights in Globalized World. The notion of human rights is as old as humanity itself. The idea of human rights reflects civilizational values. History reveals that in all civilizations, at every point of time, there existed a set of rights for the individuals. These basics and minimal rights which existed throughout history, we refer to as human rights today. Human rights are those rights to which every human being inhabiting any part of the world should be deemed entitled merely by virtue of having been born as a human being in the society. Thus, in the basic understanding, human rights are those minimal rights which are meant for the people to have their rights protected from the encroaching powers of the state. The said rights are also essential for the adequate development of human personality and human happiness. Human rights being quintessential for the overall development of human society and thus should be protected and made available to all by law. The idea of human rights per se is a formal recognition of the natural rights. They form an indispensable part of a meaningful life. These rights are available to the individuals by the very fact that they are born as human beings in the human society. However, the history of human rights has not been a linear equation where the king has been a tyrannical master. It was always a struggle between the subject and the king for recognition of their rights. This constant endeavor has brought into existence the modern notion of human rights, be it Magna Carta of 1215 or the Petition of Rights of 1622 or the Declaration of Rights of Man and the Citizens 1789 or the US Bill of Rights 1791 or the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948. In this series, the establishment of United Nations in 1945 gave a huge impetus to the identification and codification of natural rights as the human rights. When we look from the Indian perspective, the basic human rights which are documented in these legal instruments can be seen in the Constitution of India itself. Most of the rights enshrined in the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights 1966 have been recognized in Part 3 of the Constitution of India as fundamental rights. Those basic social and economic rights enshrined in Part 4 of the Constitution of India have also, to an extent, been interpreted to be part of Article 21 of the Constitution of India in many cases. The same basic socio-economic rights can be seen in the provisions of the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights 1966. The importance of these international human rights documents has been emphasized also repeatedly by the Supreme Court of India in various cases. Thus, the human rights enumerated in the international documents can be seen also enumerated in the Constitution constitutional framework of the Constitution of India. Apart from the constitutional protections, we also have a specific legislation for the protection of human rights, namely the Protection of Human Rights Act 1993, which was passed for the promotion and protection of human rights in India. The preamble of the statute provides for the establishment of a national human rights commissions at the national level and the state human rights commission at the state level, and the human rights courts for the protection of human rights under that act. Section 2D of the said act defines the human rights to mean the rights relating to life, liberty, equality, and dignity of individual guaranteed by the Constitution or embodied in the international covenants and enforceable by the courts in India. This act represents India's concern for the protection of human rights and augmentation of the cause of human rights. The decisions rendered by the Supreme Court touched upon every aspect of the right to life and personal liberty, which was needed for a dignified human right. The Supreme Court widely interpreted the horizons of Article 21 to include within its sweep the right to health, right to livelihood, right to education, right to clean and pollution-free environment, right to privacy, various rights related to arrested and detained prisoners, etc., under the umbrella of Article 21. This is a serious concern about human rights in times of globalization. Globalization once again raises the question as to the role of states with respect to human rights. Globalization means that the role of states is becoming smaller and the state borders are disappearing. Globalization also brings new players other than the state entities, such as international corporations, into action. The significance and number of transpowers of which must not be underestimated. In this background, human rights concerns are to be addressed seriously. I am happy to note that the Dharamsastra University is organizing this conference in its endeavor to initiate discussions and through that contribute towards some conceivable changes in the fields that lie on the intersection of globalization and human rights regime. I extend my best wishes to the Dharamsastra National Law Society and organizers of the conference in their aspiration to bring a new insight into the globalization and human rights discourse. I'm sure this endeavor will not only initiate discussions on the recent developments in the human rights regime, but also contribute in the realization of the gaps that exist in regard to realization of full potential of human rights mechanisms in the backdrop of globalization. I hope this conference marks the beginning of Dharamsastra National University's social endeavor to offer an academic response and a collaborative policy solution for a better future. I wish the conference all the success. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, Your Lordship, for the profound and kind presidential address. And with this, we have come to the conclusion of this inaugural ceremony of the International Conference. May I now please request respected Sri Anand Kumar Tiwari, Registrar of Dharmashastra National Law University, Jabalpur, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Madam. My Lord, the Chief Justice of Madhya Pradesh High Court and Chancellor, Dharmashastra National Law University, Jabalpur, Shri Justice Mohammad Rafiq, our Honorable Chief Guest, Shri Justice A.K. Goel, former Judge, Supreme Court of India, Chairperson, National Green Tribunal, our most respected guest of honor, Honorable Shri Justice A.K. Mittal, former Chief Justice of Madhya Pradesh High Court, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Balraj Chauhan, Dharmashastra National Law University, Jabalpur, my colleague controller of examination, learned teachers of the university, officers and supporting staff of university, our beloved students of Dharmashastra National Law University and other universities, our most eminent invited guests, coordinator Dr. Veena Roshan Jose, convener Dr. Shilpa Jain Madam, respected participants. It is my profound privilege to have the opportunity of proposing vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. On behalf of the university and on my own behalf, I extend my heartfelt gratitude and thankfulness to the Honorable Chief Justice of Madhya Pradesh High Court and our Chancellor, Shri Justice Mohammad Rafiq, whose guidance, support and motivation has been the pillar of this international conference. This conference has become possible due to his kind and humble sanction and motivation. We are thankful, Lordship, for your kind blessings and the address which you have made today by guiding all of us. Your Lordship has been kind enough to spare his valuable time in spite of his heavy engagement in relation to judicial and administrative work. As we all know, our Vice Chancellor informed about his new joining in this historical High Court. Under your valuable guidance, we seek to achieve the goal of ensuring that our university becomes a leading center of legal education, not only in India, but globally. You have been the beacon of inspirations, which we have learned from the places where you have discharged your functions. Thank you very much, Lordship. Honorable Chief Justice A.K. Goel has been always guiding the society, legal fraternity, students, and the persons who all fall in his environment. Today, while hearing his address, I will pick up something liberty, which I have learned from this educational institution where I am serving, when he was addressing that human rights and liberty in the heart of men and women. It is absolutely true, and thank you very much, sir, for guiding us and participating in this international conference. From your busy and onerous schedule, which you are discharging. Sir, your words of wisdom will inspire the upcoming law students, research scholars, and the teachers in their journey. Our guest of honor, Honorable Sri Justice A.K. Mittal, former Chief Justice, Madhya Pradesh High Court, has always showered his blessings to this university. He was very sensitive for the development of this institution, students, and legal education. It was his sensitive effort that the state government has sanctioned about 100 crore rupees for construction of the building of university, even during the hard financial crisis due to COVID-19. Sir, your address today will lift the morale to strive for excellence in the field of legal education. We are thankful to you from the bottom of our heart for gracing this occasion with your esteemed presence. Our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Balraj Chauhan, has been struggling since the establishment of the university for the development of university and put the university on the right path for achieving the excellence in the field of education. We have been blessed to gain your experience, your wisdom, your knowledge. I thank you, sir, for shaping this international conference in such a wonderful form. The team of university, our officers, teachers, staff of the university have worked tirelessly to ensure that this event is organized systematically and in an organized manner. I am confident that their efforts would result into success of this conference. Thank you for the contributions made by you all. On behalf of the university, I am also thankful to all the respected participants. As informed, they were about 115 number, which is a very reasonable and good figure. to join this international conference. The university is also thankful to the electronic and print media, the convener, Dr. Shilpa Jain, Madam, and coordinator, faculty member, Dr. Veena Roshan Josh, Madam. I am also thankful on behalf of the university to all those who have contributed in any form in ensuring the success of today's and tomorrow's international conference. Thank you, everybody. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for the vote of thanks. Finally, may I now request all our dignitaries and participants to kindly rise for the national anthem.
आवाज नहीं आ रही है,
सुन लेना।
कोई आवाज नहीं आ रही है, वॉल्यूम।
And the audio on.
काम कर दिया मैंने तो। हाँ।
जन मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा, उज्ज्वल जलधि तरुणा, तब शुभ आशीष गाए तब जय गाथा, जय जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, जय हे जय हे
Thank you very much.
Thank you.